If you love to get your feet wet, then listen up. The sand and the surf is certainly a huge part of the Texas coast. So if you like to fish for pompano, mackerel, and whiting, tonight's surf show is right up your alley. So get ready, because it's time for the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Hello and welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy. Excited to escort y'all into fall, and this week especially escort y'all towards the surf, right, Rick?
You're absolutely right, Brie. You know, the surf is a huge part of the Texas coast.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of those guys love to fish right off of the beach, wading out into that first gut, and boy, there's no telling what they can catch this time
Stringers
of year.
is something, right?
Yeah, man, you got it.
All right, well, I know Dave is extra excited over there at the workbench today to show us all of the Alvy tricks, aren't you, Dave? I see you're
I am. I
definitely
even
ready.
brought even my moon cart and everything. So
Moon cart.
Moon
Yeah,
cart.
for the beach
He's ready.
with the big moon tires on it.
I wonder if we could have moon pie for dessert.
Moon party, moon everything. All right, let's start this fall fest in the surf capital of the Middle Coast region and see what tips Captain Bink Grimes has for us. Go for it, Bink.
All right, we picked up the pieces from Hurricane Nicholas this week, and fishing picked right back up where it left off. Tides are swelling. The autumn equinox is approaching. It's just a great time to be outdoors. Our surf is full of fish right now. Those tides from the hurricane pushed a lot of fish up on the beach, and we've been getting them pretty good on top waters and live shrimp under a popping cork. And then in there, the Port O'Connor region, there's the reefs in San Antonio Bay have been hot. Waders have been working the edges of reefs with soft plastics like Bass Assassins and Miller and Little Johns. And then the Rockport waders, they've been finding large trout on corkies and top waters around Carlos and Mesquite Bay. The reefs in East Bay have been players here lately. Sheep pups and Bass Assassins have done well on the edges of the reefs. We've seen great results this month with a lot of big trout release. These trout are hanging, over shell in about 5 to 6 foot of water. We're also working the shorelines and catching good fish while wading with chicken on chain Bass Assassins. Birds are starting to work a little bit in our bay, and so this time of year in East Bay, you can catch a lot of fish, just working birds. West Matagorda Bay has been good while waiting for trout on the south shoreline. Those tops in top waters, they found trout along the grass lines. Places like Half Moon Reef, Coon Island Reef, and the reefs in Turtle Bay have been good on live shrimp under a popping cork. We've got the first real cool front of the year coming through this weekend, so a lot of those North Shoreline reefs will be good. We'll go to redfish, and as normally the case after a hurricane, our redfish action has been fabulous. It's really, really good in the surf right now. Our tide surge last week was 4 to 8 foot along the Middle Coast. That's pushed new redfish recruits and deposited on every piece of real estate we've had. There's lots of shrimp in the back lakes and marshes, and many of we'll target those with small top waters and live shrimp under a mid-coast cork. Spots in Matagorda like Cutoff Flat, Zipper and Bow, Shell Island, and Twill Island are all players. Some of the largest redfish of the year will be caught in East Bay under birds. When things are really firing off, there'll be 10 to 20 groups of birds working all over the bay. One group will have a lot of big trout under them. The next group will have all big reds under them. And then in Rockport, back lakes like Allen's Bight and the marshes of San Joe Island hold lots of redfish. A lot of redfish on the Estes Flats while drifting soft plastics with a paddling cork. Jetty action is fired off from Freeport to Port Aransas, right there on the surf end, right there around the first gut, the second gut, along the Surfside Beach. Lots of bull redfish there. Best on crabs and mullet. Waders along the South Shoreline of West Bay are catching a lot of redfish on Bass Assassins and Little Johns. Also gold spoons as well. As those fish begin to move, along the grassy shorelines, we'll be throwing shrimp imitations. We'll be throwing small topwaters like the Berkeley Jaywalkers. and a lot of those mirror lure sheep pups as well. Photo there, that's we had a hurricane tides last week, and man, it really sparked an excellent redfish bite. Fall is just the best time of the year for us and redfish here along the Middle Coast. Offshore, didn't do much offshore last week because we were dealing with a hurricane, but man, it's calm now. And a lot of those offshore guys are getting out and chasing amberjack in about 150 foot of water. They're also fishing for cobia and a blackfin tuna and kingfish around the shrimp boats. There's a grass line out there, which is good for Dorado mixed with cobia. We still have a good bite for red snapper, but you can only catch them in state waters, but there's plenty of them out there. So, and our tarpon are starting to show a whole lot better. October's a really great month for our tarpon. So that's just another good season that we've had on the Texas Insider Fishing Report along the Garmin Middle Coast regions. Man, we ask you to please continue to practice catch and release and just take care of our bays. And we look forward to seeing y'all next year.
All right, bud, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Middle Coast region. He says trout are good on the reefs in East Bay while drifting with bass assassins. Redfish action is solid in the back lakes around the schooling concentrations on sheep ups.
All right, let's see what the Startron Middle Fresh region is offering us on LBJ, Buchanan, Sam Rayburn, Richland Chambers, and Toledo Bend with Matt Loescher. Are you ready for pumpkin spice and lots of bass bites, Matt?
Always, Brie.
Good.
And I've got, as you mentioned, a really wide-ranging largemouth bass report to finish out the season this week. So I'm going to get right to it, starting with Jared Poole at Hill Country Hammer Guide Service down at Lake LBJ. Jared was really that there's multiple patterns working for him on that lake right now. He says that the water temperature is now down to about 84, and the fish have really begun pushing upward thanks to these cooler nights, dropping that water temperature. They're catching some fish early in the morning on topwater bait, and then later they're using the shade of the docks to catch them on a swim jig. And he also mentioned that there's also a pretty good bite on the seawalls with a jig. So a lot of fun action with a jig and topwater there. Jared got me a report from Lake Buchanan as well. He says that the water temp there is a little cooler. It's all the way down to about 79 right now at times. But the fish are still out in the trees. They're catching them in those trees with the Texas rig, and they're also catching a few on topwater baits as well. And he sent me a photo of one of his clients, a really great shot there with the sun going down over the American flag in the background. Beautiful Lake Buchanan bass.
Nice.
Cool picture.
All right, what else you got?
Moving up, going north, Mr. Thurman Selman with Bass Specialty Guide Service tells me that the bite up on Lake Fairfield has been kind of up and down lately. However, he's been pulling some real nice bass out of the grass there. He's been using a jig with a Bass Assassin heavy punch crawl trailer to punch into that thick stuff and rip them out. And then he's also been catching some fish on a Bass Assassin fat job, rigged weightless, throwing the submerged grass line and the reeds on the shoreline.
Nice.
He mentioned that you can also get bit on the points using a Carolina rig with a big worm. Then over at Richland Chambers, Mr. Thurman says you can still find the bass around the docks that have good cover and shade. Larger fish are still holding out on the deeper offshore structure like road beds and brush piles, where a Carolina rig, a jig, or a crankbait are the way to go. And then he mentioned that any reeds or grass that you find along the shoreline will hold fish, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And if you need any reel service done, give Mr. Thurman a call. Look him up at Bass Specialty. Down here at Sam Rayburn, look for fish to be relating to grass and channel ledges. Bait is always key right now with this fall transition, so search out the areas with the most shad. You want to see a lot of shad. They're really starting to bunch up right now, which is a big indicator that fall feed is coming on. Frogs and topwater plugs like that Berkeley Chapo are going to be great around the shallow grass, as well as the Bass Assassin fat job. Now, out on the ledges, a Texas rigged worm in about 10 to 20 foot around the stumps is a great way to catch a big one. Now, moving over to Toledo Bend, the bass have been chasing the shad that are ganging up on the points lately in about 10 to 20 foot of water. Topwater plugs like the Berkeley Jaywalker are good early, and then anytime when you see those bass pushing their shad up, schooling on the surface throughout the day. The Berkeley Dredger crankbaits are really good, cranked down below the shad as well when they're not up at the top. Carolina rigs are also good, especially when the sun gets up and the conditions get calm. And I like the Bass Assassin Vapor Shad for that rig. Now, switching over real quickly to stripers, just want to make mention of the stripers on Lake Buchanan. Jared Poole mentioned to me that they're schooling all day long right now, so I'm sure that's a ton of fun. Go check that bite out. And then rounding out, my last species is going to be crappie. Here at Toledo Bend, I'm going to group Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn together on this one because the patterns are basically the same. You'll want to search out the timber and the bridge pilings in that 15 to 30 foot of water for the big slabs. Stay off the fish as much as possible. They're a little skittish right now, but you can still catch them really well by casting a jig to them. That panfish assassin, pumpkin seed shad continues to be the best producer for me. And I've got a photo here for you to showcase what you can catch right now out there on those big trees.
Tell me about the big blast splash, bud.
I sure will. So this last weekend, it was sure great to see everybody at the Sealy Outdoors Big Bass Splash on Lake Fork. We enjoyed meeting and talking with all of you. And I want to say congratulations to all of those of you who did well. There were some great fish weighed in, and there were some really impressive young anglers in the junior anglers division who also cashed in on some good prizes. And as a reminder, the Sealy Outdoors is hosting another great event soon at Sam Rayburn. That is the Big Bass Splash Fall Shootout, October 9th and 10th, with a guaranteed cash and prizes payout of $180,000.
All right, thank you.
Hourly payout,
right.
The biggest fish, and Dave Farrell and I will be there, so we look forward to talking to all of you soon.
That sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots in the Middle Fresh region. He says the bass are biting better and better with the changing of the seasons. Topwater plugs, crankbaits, and Carolina rigs are the best baits. Stripers are schooling at the Lake Buchanan, and then crappies are in 15 to 30 feet in the timber and on the bridges, Brie.
All right, coming up, we're casting into the Alvey Reel's Lower Coast region. But first, Dave is showing us what a Mac Daddy surf rod and reel looks like at the workbench for Rigs and Techniques. Dave, I see some Mac Daddies, a lot. Mac Daddies over there.
There are a lot of them over there, aren't there?
He is.
They're for me to get out there a long ways on the beach. Catch those pompanos and redfish out there.
And you do. You do that,
ways.
Dave.
Yes.
He's the pro. All right, we'll be back.
So Dave, this week we're talking about rigs and techniques at the bench when it comes to surf fishing. So why don't we just jump right in?
Well, Texas is very fortunate. It has huge miles and miles and miles of coastline, which is why we do a TV show there. They got a lot of fishing, and there's a lot of beaches. So there's a lot of fish out there to catch. And one of the main ones in Texas is redfish. September through November, they have a good run of redfish in the surf in the fall there in the late summer, and you can just tear them up. I mean, you can really catch a lot of redfish in the surf when they're in there. And the best thing to do is to use a big surf casting rod with a double dropper rig on it, and maybe with some cut mullet, a crab, a croaker, or something like that.
Oh shit!
Oh boy, you're in the top there.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, that's got a it's got a big Sputnik sinker on there. It's good to hold the bottom in 2-3 feet of water. Even with a big sea and even a big tide. You can go up to a 4 or even a 5 ounce weight if you have to. You just want to use just enough weight to hold the bottom and keep your stuff stiff. And what this rod here, this stealth rod, it's a 13-foot rod, and what it's got a really soft tip and a strong butt section. So when you throw that Sputnik out there and it gets stuck in the sand real good, you can reel it down tight so that your rod's bent over, and that keeps these up off the bottom away from the catfish and the other stuff on the bottom, keeps a nice taut line, and what that does is it allows you to see it when you get a bite. No matter if it's, you really won't have a problem when it's a redfish knowing it's a bite, because the thing will jerk right over and almost bend over sideways. But if it's a pompano or a little whiting or something like that gets on there, you can see it.
Plus, that soft tip absorbs the action of the waves coming and going, yes?
Yes, it does a little bit. I'd really rather it not move much at all, though.
Right.
That's why it's so good about using that braid when you're using those big surf rods, because the braid cuts through the wave action and doesn't, unless you get weeds on it, it really doesn't move at all. I mean, it'll stay pretty tight on there.
So what other kind of tackle do they use?
Well, you
in
know,
the
if,
surf?
when those redfish are in there tearing up the baits, you know, it's really fun, you know, to throw a big topwater lure at them with a bait caster. That's an Alvi Orbiter bait caster. A lot of people don't know that they make bait casters and spinning reels, but these are great to wade into the surf with. You know, they're really good in the salt water. A nice stout rod, because, you know, the redfish that you catch are going to be pretty good size.
Gonna throw a big Berkeley Jaywalker?
Yep, a
120?
Jaywalker, the one with that spinny tail, this joker here.
Oh, the Chapo.
The Chapo is really good in the surf because, you know, in the surf, there's a lot of white water around. You know, stuff can get lost in it. So when you're fishing in the surf, it's not a time to be subtle.
Right.
You know, you want your stuff to show up. You know, big lures, gold spoons, that sort of thing. That little a little gotcha or something like that darts around, like on that spinning reel over there. But this is a thing, a live bait rig kind of, or a big dead bait rig. I call it's a Jupiter rig, really, pretty much. And what this does is you can throw this out in the surf with a live croaker on it, or any kind of live mullet. Catching flounder and that
Right.
stuff. What this does is it keeps the bait pretty close to the bottom, but allows it to move around. It can still move a little bit and cover ground. Like if you have a big current moving down, you could throw it up current, surf that, and let that bait go all the way down that closest gut, which is where a lot of those fish are going to be.
And then you mentioned this.
Oh, the little gotcha.
The
you know?
casting.
Yeah, if you want to just go out there and cast, that little gotcha catches everything, you know, from redfish, bluefish, just about anything will eat that. Trout, flounders, everything eats the gotcha.
So Dave, quickly, we also have scented baits that you might want to tip jigs with as well, correct?
Right. I use fish bites. Every time I go to the beach, I'm using fish bites in some way. Either I use it behind my shrimp to hold the shrimp on, or to hold my bait on, because it's got that mesh in there, and it'll stay on even after the bait's gone. The fish bites will stay on there, and you still catch fish. I often wonder why I'm using bait when I could just get the fish bites.
And you were
and
worried about what you were going to talk
Well,
about.
I just didn't know if I'd have
He's
enough
just a
time.
pro, right, Bree?
I didn't know if I'd have enough time.
You're a
Oh,
pro,
you never have
Dave.
enough time. There's never enough time here.
You're always saying good things. All right, there's no shortage of surf in the Alvi Reels Lower Coast region. So let's hear from Captain Chad Kidney and see where we'll be beaching it. Go for it, Chad.
I tell you what, you're talking about right. I think I'm sure I've got the biggest, longest beachfront there is anywhere. So we're going to start talking about the surf fishing there. Luckily, I said we got miles and miles of beach access on the lower coast. Basically from Corpus Christi down to South Padre, which we cover, and Port Mansfield's in the middle of the cut. There's basically about 100 miles of beachfront. That's all good fishing. You know, it's got your sandbars, you got washouts, you got the jetties. So there's lots of different species to target. You got, you know, stuff from the shark fishermen to kingfish, tarpon, redfish, trout, pompano, black drum. I mean, you never know what you're really going to catch depending on time of year. And so for some extreme long casting, which we've been talking about for a couple of years here now, and a buddy of mine's having it for a lot longer than that down here, to get past those sandbars, you don't have to wade out that deep and all that stuff. Those Alvi side casts have been really, really good. And the best thing is, there's no better casting reel that's going to hold up to that surf and sand. This thing, the guys actually literally wash out after they're done in the salt water, and they go put it in their truck. If fishing, you know, bait balls, or you're more sight casting or working that first or second sandbar, then I go to a spinning reel, the Alvi 100 rigged with some 30-pound diamond braid, and I'll use a Fenwick 7-foot medium rod. That gives you a good feel still for trout, but as Dave said, you got enough backbone for those bigger reds, because normally in the surf you're going to get some bigger redfish. And then take plenty of, you can't take enough tackle when you're surf fishing, so take a variety of tackle, you know, from fish bites to mirror lure topwaters, multiple size eagle claw your hooks for any baits, plenty of jig heads, extra jig heads, colored jig heads. And while you're using that spinning reel, I like using my biggest preference where I go out there, if the water's right and the current, you got that trout green water, which doesn't get any better, use a little sea shad, saltwater assassin, and just let it bounce off the bottom. That current will take it, let it roll around the sand. You can feel it, your neck can hung up, barely bouncing off there. The trout and the reds this time of year from September to October are just going to nail it. So we're coming at the perfect time of year, so y'all go hit it and have some fun. I got a good picture here of some friends of mine have been fishing Alvi side casting for years. It's Mike and Snyder and his wife Mary. They got a kingfish on one.
Nice.
So moving on to bay fishing, guys. The redfish we've been talking for a while. There were solid numbers in the flats, and there's a shallow, way up shallow of the sand, so the sand pockets and grass beds still. This is the time of year where they get up there, a little less pressure and a lot more fish. So look for those baits way shallow. The redfish will be pushing wakes. Look for the bait. The best way to kind of do this, we get some lighter winds this time of year, so get out and wade fish. You'll cover more ground. You're a lot more quiet in the water. You can get some more bites. Use your power pole as a power pole down with your remote to keep you wading, keeps your boat closer and all your tackle and some cold drinks if you're doing that. And you try some mirror lure top dog early, and then later in the day, when the fish start going a little bit deeper, then I like moving over to the saltwater assassin, that magic grass, when I start working the sand pockets and the grass beds, when you're out to that mid-thigh to waist deep water. And there's plenty of action out there with some smaller reds and the slot reds. And got a great picture here of a Captain Todd Gruber. He's fishing out of the lodge here, wade fishing out there with a nice slot redfish right there.
That's a cool picture, dude.
Yeah, that's a good, sweet pitch. Thanks. Moving offshore, and that's where you can see a bunch of right now this time of year. So moving offshore, state water snapper fishing's really good out of Port Mansfield. Out deeper, you can try some deep dropping and jigging, which is good. The current's lighter, and there's a lot of billfish action right now. So head out towards the canyon if you can do that. If you're out in that 204 foot, 400 foot of water, try some deeper jigging for the grouper. You can use a Penn spinning reel like a 65 to 8500 with that blue carnage rod. We've been talking about that. Get a Procar Eagle Claw jig, about a 3 to 7 ounce, and that'll get you down to that deeper bottom a little bit quicker. Put a big old fish bite strip on that. That'll help you get it sended down there. Drop all the way to the bottom, and don't jig like you're doing amberjack. Just slowly bump it up and out the bottom. You'll target scamp grouper, Warsaw grouper, yellow edge, gag grouper. They're all really good to catch, and of course great to eat. Got a picture of a beautiful scamp grouper we just got. So moving over, heading out deep, like talking about for the billfish, out to the canyon. There's tons of flying fish moved in. Bait balls moved in. Rig us some islanders with ballyhoo. There's sails, whites, blue marlin. Get your Penn Internationals out, whether you like using the 30, a little bit lighter, 50 or an 80. 80 is more tournament style, but if you want to do that. We've been using, spooling them up with that Momoy mono, and they had that orange color they came out with, and I've been using that for a while. And me running the boat, I really, really like it for 2 reasons. You visually can see it really good. You can see where the fish is going. I can stay in contact with my guys. And also when you're pulling the baits, you can see where your baits are actually at within the first wave, third wave, and all that stuff. Remember practicing catch and release. And got a picture of a blue marlin here. So we had Connor Reynolds off the Top Gun. They actually went 2 for 4. They had 2 double hookups.
All right, man. Thank you for all the pictures. We'll see you soon. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats hotspots from the lower coast region. He says, in short, redfish are good in numbers in the lower coast flats around the sand pockets and grass beds, and then offshore, it has been excellent for state water snappers and great billfish action out deeper at the canyon.
All right, and make sure you tune in because Rick here is taking over Diamond Fishing Instagram page, and he will be live on September 28th at 7 p.m. That'll be something good to tune into.
Yeah, man,
Can
it's
you give us a
going to
little
be
sneak peek of it? Just real quick? Nothing? We're going to have to just tune in?
You got to tune in.
All right.
But it is going to be good, I promise.
It's going to be good. All right, we hope you've been taking notes because we're on to some bass bites in the lower and upper fresh regions coming up next. So stay hooked on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and we'll be right back.
Joining me is Michael Curry from Skeeter Boats. You know, Michael, one of the things that I love about this boat company, certainly they're a Yamaha boat company, but one of the things I really love is that how they give back and how they really involve the community through a lot of different things. I know that there's a Berkeley tournament where they give away 3 bass boats to a Berkeley, not owners, but only tournament in Lake Fork. So, you know, one of the things that's so cool about this boat is all the different features that it have, but let's talk about why, when somebody goes to a boat show, why they should consider this bay boat over a lot of other guys that think they're playing in this category.
Sure. So, you know, boat companies or boat dealers at boat shows, they all look the same, right? So you need to really ask some questions. We're at a show, you know, what are some of the things that the boat company is doing for you as an angler, from an advocacy standpoint, from tournament support standpoint, from other things that are important to you as your angler, not just the shiny lights and the boats and the fiberglass out there, but what is the boat company doing for you? You know, Skeeter has real money tournaments that, you know, gives you additional dollars above and beyond what the tournament may pay out. So, you know, we are doing all kinds of things to engage our customers where they play.
Now, when I look at this boat, certainly the non-skid is very aggressive for safety reasons, but tell me about some of the other features that you guys take a lot of pride in.
So we build a boat for our anglers, for the folks that get out there and fish with their families or their buddies. So you talk about safety. We have an aggressive non-skids if you keep from slipping, but we also have additional seating, so if things get rough, you can put people in a safe spot. We build boats with higher gunnels if you have smaller children, and we also, again, I keep preaching this, but we're a company that are for anglers and fishermen, and we have dedicated live wells in the bow. We have
rod lockers,
right? We at Skeeter on our campus we have a trailer manufacturer, right? That we build our own trailers. So for those in Texas, they can may run up to Lake Fork and bass fish, or they may run to the coast, or they may want to go explore Florida. They got a trailer designed for their boats. They got rod storage that actually fits rods, right? It fits all the equipment you may need to take with you. We've got ample storage for everyone's backpack and bringing gear, because again, we know what the anglers need, and that's safety, storage, and a boat that performs.
Well, thank you so much for the support. And guys, if you have any questions, you can certainly go to your Skeeter dealer or to skeeterboats.com. Right, Brie?
Absolutely. All right, Matt Reed is taking us fishing on Lake Travis, LBJ, Decker, and Lake Falcon, of course. So, Matt, time to make Rick jealous with those big bass photos again. Go for it.
All right, Brie, let's get this rolling. We're going to start off with a report from Mike Bates in Choke Canyon. Topwater bite's still a little slower, but the early morning bite is good on swim baits and flukes on the inside grass line. There's not much of a topwater bite yet. Also, the light Texas rig soft plastics on the outside grass line early have been doing well. That lasts till about 9 o'clock on clear days. If you got some clouds, of course, you can make it last a little longer. After that, the grass punching bite is by far the best. Take your heavy weight, soft plastic, some braided line, and drop it through the thick mats of hydrilla. The fish seem to be sitting 2 to 4 feet back in from the edge. You want to cover as much water as you can, and once you find an area where you get some bites, concentrate on it. Mike said he had a 5-fish limit that weighed over 22 pounds in an area about the size of the front deck of your boat the other day. Color soft plastic doesn't seem to matter. Numbers and size are definitely getting better each week with the cooling weather. Brian Cotter with Texas Hawes Guide Service sent me a report from around the Austin area. Lake Travis is fishing well. There have been quite a few solid fish caught lately. He says his best 5 each day are averaging 17 to 20 pounds, which is very good for Travis, catching lots of 3 and 4 pound fish. They're using mainly, soft plastic stick worms and creature baits in that 15 to 25 foot of water. They're also on bluff walls and in deep coves with rock piles. There is a little bit of a shallow crankbait bite early because the shad are beginning to move back in the back of the coves as fall is creeping up on us, even though it hadn't quite felt like it yet. LBJ's fishing decent, worked soft stick baits and jigs around the docks. Also a shallow crankbait bite on the edge of the docks and around the rock piles and laydowns. A little bit of a frog bite also on the bulkheads and lily pads. Lake Decker, fishing pretty well also. It's mainly concentrated on shad on the main lake. You want to look for the school fish, throw swim baits in them or deep crankbaits under them to catch a bigger fish. If they're not doing that, you want to go to the grass, throw you a frog or a wake bait around the shallow grass, and that's a great way to catch some good fish on up in the day. Falcon Lake is still fishing really well, as it usually does. The numbers have been moderate lately, but the size continues to shine. Most of the fish are related to rock structure in that 10 to 20 foot of water range, throwing stand-up head, straight-tail worms, and Carolina rigs with flukes. Plum apple is my best color by far. Also been a few fish caught lately, flipping some shallow hardwoods. Got a couple of bass pictures there with a couple of my clients from this last week. Paul had a blast. You always love to see those young at heart old guys out there still catching some big ones.
There you go, Rick.
Nice. All right, tell me about the crappie, Poppy.
All right, the crappie and falcon are in high gear. Just find you other man-made brush piles in that 15 to 20 foot range, and you can feel your limit fairly quickly. I sit directly on top of them, spotlight controller motor over the brush pile, and drop an 8-ounce jig vertical right down into the tree. Red chartreuse and Jewbug chartreuse have been my best colors. But if they slow down on you, change color, and you will pick up a few more fish.
All right, bub. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the FiberTech hotspots from the lower fresh region. He says Choke Canyon bass are kicking it into high gear early in the morning. It is best with swim baits, flukes, and light Texas rig soft plastics. The mat punching bite is in high gear. Get your braided line in heavy gear to drop some soft plastics through the hydrilla and have a blast, Brie.
Crappie, Poppy.
Crappie,
that was
Poppy.
a good one. Proud of you. All right, it's the upper fresh region's time to shine with fall fishing excitement happening on Lake Fork and Tawakoni. We hope you had a good trip last week, Johnny, but let's get to it.
We did. Glad to be back. Hey, Rick and Bree, it's hard to believe we got another season of Texas Insider Fishing Report coming to an end, but thanks to all our great sponsors and our viewers for making this another successful year. Hopefully our weekly fishing reports have brought some entertainment, helpful fishing information, and tips that have helped you catch more and bigger fish. So this week's theme is surf fishing, but of course we don't have much of surf fishing in the upper fresh region. What we do have this time of the year is changing weather and wind action, our surf. That will provide some great fishing around the shoreline. So here are a few tips I've got to try on the upper fresh lakes. With the arrival of this fall weather fronts, we'll have some strong northern winds, and that's going to chill down our shallows. And these big bass, they'll start their fall feeding beds. So I look for the windy shorelines this time of year. The points start with a spinnerbait or an underspin swim bait. These two lure selections, they'll help you locate these active fish. Just keep chunking and winding until you get into some action and slow down and fish that area thoroughly. I look for similar wind-blown points, put that power pole down and work them thoroughly with some shad-colored crankbaits. This is also a great time to start using these small lipless crankbaits back in the back of the creeks. And remember, this time of the year, the wind is your friend. Okay, so we'll talk about some big bass on Fork. Wow, the Sealy Big Bass Splash is over. There were 5 bass weighed in over 9 pounds, and a 10-pound even bass won the overall first place prize. There were about 2,200 plus anglers fishing the event, and the bass were caught on a variety of lures with that many people. The next big event, last one of the year on Fork, is the annual Big Bass Tournament. It's on October the 16th and 17th. At this event, the anglers are only allowed to use Berkeley lures, and Lake Fork Marina has a full line of almost everything made by Berkeley, so stock up. We'll have a team again from the Texas Insider Fishing Report on hand to meet with the anglers. Hope to see some viewers there at this event. I got a picture here of Mark Troll. He was the winner of the Big Bass Splash event with his 10.0, won the big fully rigged boat and a pickup truck. So nice catch there for the Sealy event.
That's right. Congratulations,
Be sure,
Mark.
some plans to attend the Berkeley Big Bass event in a few weeks and catch a big one or better like this one. Next up, man, the hybrids over on Lake Tawakoni. Old Matt Cartwright, he's had a fantastic year on Tawakoni, probably the best lake in the upper fresh region. Fishing for the white bass, the hybrids, and the stripers has been off the chart on that reservoir. The fall season means schooling action on Tawakoni, and it's very common to find surfacing fish almost every morning. The gulls, the gray herons, they'll be where the active fish are, and anglers can find that action by watching the birds as they dive on those surfacing shad, which are being pursued by hungry fish. Topwater lures, A-rigs, swim baits, and the heavy slabs are the main tools to catch these fish during the fall. Matt also specializes in locating and catching some big trophy blue catfish in the fall and winter. He uses cut bait and big shad to target the trophy blues from 35 to 65 pounds. So if you're looking for fast action, give old Matt a call. He'll put you on some big fish and lots of them. Here's another pic from a recent Matt's trip. And as you can see, that cleaning table's full of fish again and some nice stripers. As we close out this year's Texas Insider Fishing, I'd like to thank my fellow guides who provided us some great reports and pictures. Thanks old Matt Cartwright on Tawakoni, Bill Carey with Striper Express on Texoma, Kerry Thorne on Levon, Ray Hubbard, old Philip Poole on Allen Henry, and Terry Moon, Brian Duplessis, and Cameron Burnett here on Lake Fork. It's been a fun year. We'll continue to send updates to Captain Rick Murphy's YouTube channel. So to the next Texas Insider Fish Report season, stay safe, get out and enjoy the great outdoors. Thank you, Rick.
We ain't gonna let you go yet, Johnny. How was the duck hunting and the goose hunting?
We had a fabulous time. We had 3 days of limits of ducks and geese, and just a ball. The travel's a little bit hard nowadays, but you can make it.
All right, well, man, I didn't see my phone ringing. Bree, did you get a call?
I didn't get an invite. No, it's all right.
That's all right, Johnny. Maybe next time. All right, bud. Thank you so much for everything you do. Did a great job this year, and we're going to go and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. He says Lake Fork, the fall fishing is around the corner. The bass still biting good at night on worms and jigs and some early topwater action as well. And then you got Lake Tawakoni. Continues to be great for fishing. Cooler mornings have turned on the big sand bass and hybrids. Slabs and swim baits are going to work best at this time for them.
Where did he go? Alaska? Where was
No,
he?
he was in
Up
Canada.
north? Canada.
Yep.
Close. All right. Well, the Fish Bites Upper Coast region is our closer coming right up. But first, Dave has some new products at the workbench to show off. Dave, I'm seriously going to miss your weekly shenanigans over there.
Well, I'm sorry about that, but we're going to be talking a little bit about this one more Alvy reel in the surf. Big,
Nice.
Giant one.
Good looking.
It's
Alvy
fast,
reel,
too.
too.
Big, giant, light one.
Mac
Yeah.
Daddy.
Fast.
You know, the second favorite part of this show for me is talking about new products after the rigs and techniques. Dave, you do a great job over here every week.
Yeah.
So what are we going to talk about now?
Well, first off, because this is kind of a surf show, for sure, we're going to talk a little bit about that Alvy 65H. That's the hybrid 65. You notice over there, I got a lot of the other 65 stealths over there those are all 1-to-1 reels. You know, you turn the handle once and the spool spins once. But the hybrid here is a 2-to-1. So it's got a gear in there. You know, it's one more, you know, it's still get the same warranty, 10 years salt and sand, which, you know, you can't really beat. But it comes with that extra gearing in there that makes it really fly. It comes with a 10 kg drag, which is, you know, 20 plus 20 pounds of drag, which, you know, if you're holding on to a long rod on the beach, that's pretty much all you're going to want, unless you're fishing for great big sharks or something, and you can always just lock it down.
Do you have any idea how many inches of line per crank?
It's 40 inches per crank, a little bit over a meter, you know, so it's about 40 inches. I tried to measure it the other day. All this stuff on here is titanium. Weighs 10% less than the non-geared 65 GCRT. But, you know, all this stuff in here is titanium, carbon fiber, all of it to make up for that weight of that gear in there. So, you know, it's just a really well-made, high-tech surf reel. You know, you can jig GTs or tuna fish off the beach with it. You know, it's made to tackle great big fish.
Yeah, and I know a lot of guys are putting these on a short rod and using them in a rod holder on the side of the boat for groupers.
Yep, you can. It'll crank them right up. Next, we got this Banshee Rod by Bull Bay Rods here. It won the best saltwater rod. Yeah, it won the best saltwater rod in 2021 at the ICAST show, which is a big tackle show. It's got a really fast, responsive action. All these were built for inshore fishing with extra fast tips with progressive backbones to catch pretty good sized fish. They're really nice looking as well.
Cool grips.
Balanced for long casts. The optimized spacing of the guides, all for casting. It's got a double locking reel seat here, as well as a nice matte finish. All this has been painted and rubberized. Really nice grips on here. Nice paint job.
Hook keeper.
Yeah, nice hook keeper. I like that flat sand finish that it has on it. They come from 6'8" to 7'10" in 7 different rods. So I'm sure you can find one that you'll enjoy. Go to bullbayrods.com.
And this was Alvy US.
AlvyUS.com.
All right.
And next there, you got the Stiffy. That's a really FiberTech ferrule kit for repairing broken poles, made by Stanley. And I've never broken a pole, So
Well-
maybe you know a little bit about it, because I've never broken a pole
I
or
must
tried
say-
to fix one.
I must say I know way too much, and then I have been recently refreshed by my son Ridge.
Oh, did he break one too?
Oh, many, not just one. He
Or
broke
you guys
two
tried to
in
pole
1
vault
week.
with him, aren't you? You're running out in the backyard and
Yeah,
trying to jump
you know,
over stuff.
It's
with
all good though, because that's how you learn.
Yeah.
But the cool part is you just put the glue, comes with the sand kit. You just simply grind out the inside of there, and then we turn around and put a little epoxy. It's 2-part, comes with it. And then you see it even mark the ferrule, how far to push it in.
Right.
And then it's real simple. You put it in the other side, screw it together. The key is that you want to take a file to make sure your 2 ends are going to match up good.
Right.
So match that up, and that's the best way to repair.
Yeah, you don't want to have that fiber in the middle either. So.
Nope.
All right, last but not least here, we've got some really cool Eagle Claw laser sharp jigs. One of them is called the Larva Jig. That's actually the Sparky jig. We'll do that one first. It's built around a 413 heavy duty jig hook. Comes in 1/16 all the way up to half-ounce sizes. So they make them great big too. And catches redfish, snook, mackerel, anything you put a tail on it, or a shrimp or anything like that.
But
It's
fish
great.
bites, you can put a live shrimp.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I really like these. There was a fella that was making these, and we were using them here in Florida. And now these are pretty much the same thing. It's called a Larva Jig, and pompano eat these things. Croakers, just about
Yellowtail
snappers. That little weight on
Mangroves.
there. Mangrove snappers. You put a little bait on there and that little bit of weight, and it just keeps your chum floating just perfect. I mean, your hook and bait right along with the chum, and that's what that's made for. They get really small, 1/32 as well, 1/16 and an 1/8 ounce. This is the biggest one they make right
Where
there.
do we find it?
Eagle Claw, eagleclaw.com.
American made right
Yep,
here in
that's correct.
Colorado.
Yes, sir.
All right, you weren't made in Colorado, but you did spend some time there, didn't you, Brie?
That's correct, I did. All right, the Fish Bites Upper Coast region never disappoints, and this week we're taking the excitement into the surf with Captain Weston. Close out our season for us, Carl.
Hey guys, I'm a little sad that we're closing out, but here we go. In the Upper Coast, surf fishing is a style that's loved by many, many anglers, including myself. On rough days, we'll run to the beachfront and we'll fish. It's fun. It's a great way to spend quality time, no matter what the age or the experience level of the angler may be. And this is also a great way to fish very affordably. The surf has many options. Folks around here, they'll paddle out big baits and kayaks to target sharks from the surf. Then there are those who just toss live baits in close for redfish, trout, Spanish and king mackerel. And the thing about surf fishing here in Texas is the unknown, which makes it so fun. Because you could nearly hook anything in the ocean out here. And so it's a fun thing to do year-round here. Moving on to flounder. As fall approaches here in Texas, flounder become a prime target for everyone that still fishes. They become the most sought-after fish around docks, pylons. Over Seawolf Park in Galveston is always a real hot spot. They can be found all the way out to the point, the old concrete ship, and many, many places. And the anglers will be tossing live finger mullet and shrimp at these flatties. This is an awesome fishery that heats up all winter here in the Upper Coast. If you've never tried targeting these tasty little guys, I highly recommend giving it a shot. Lots of fun. Keep the old casting arm in shape. And, the fans' favorite bait of the week is always going to be Berkeley Gulp, the 3-inch white shad rigged with a quarter or a half-ounce jig head. Bounce across the bottom around these docks, pylons, piers, seawalls, and I guarantee you'll have fun. Just pull up that new that pen spinning combo and go get your dinner for the family tonight. We got a picture today of a nice little flatty.
Nice.
Moving offshore, I'm going to talk about a few fish that we are going to catch for the next few months. We won't be talking a lot but moving out to the deep blue water. This time of year, cold fronts will hit, and it'll be calm from the beachfront out, sometimes 10 miles like a lake. The last couple of days, we were lucky to have a weather pattern like this, and we ran offshore with some friends to look for some ling, and then it didn't take long, Rick. The first little rig we hit had 3 nice size ling on it. We hit the second, it had 4. I counted 11 ling by the time I hit my third. Stem and there were 20 more rigs we could have hit. I ran out a little further to catch some live shad because something that a ling just cannot resist here in the upper coast is some shad. I usually rig those with a 6/0 trocar, heavy hook, that live bait hook, and about a 3-foot piece of 60-pound diamond because our fish are good size here and they're so strong, as you know. Hook your bait, your live bait, through the dorsal and let the ling chase it. It'll excite them. You'll do very well. Got a picture today of Rodney who was out with a good friend of mine, Gary, the same day and caught a real nice ling here.
Nice.
So moving on to tuna, like I said, here's something you can fish all year, guys. Don't give up fishing. Don't stop just because the kids went back to school. Fishing is great here the rest of the winter. And when I say it's hot, the tuna bite is really hot. As we touched on last week, we're catching blackfin and bonita behind the deep water shrimp boats. Fishing the drop-offs. You know, the smaller bonitas are chasing glass minnows. And we have some scattered blackfin, excuse me, and some wahoo also in those areas. As we head out in the 100-mile range, the floating rigs are holding some 25 to 75-pound yellowfin. On the upcurrent side, you'll usually mark that bait ball with your Garmin right there on the upcurrent side, and you'll see the larger marks, and that'll be your yellowfin and big blackfin. Chunking is always preferred method for me. As the sun comes up, I will try trolling a mix of topwater lures and rig ballyhoo. R&R tackle makes some awesome tuning magnets just for these tactics. These fish usually stay close to the deep water rigs all winter, and hey, they're as well good to eat raw as cooked. And we've got Tosh for the blackfin.
All right. Hey, I got a question for you. I know that when you guys were here, you and Natasha got engaged. When's the wedding there, Hot Rod?
Oh.
Oh, don't put him on the spot or anything.
Next summer, we're trying to let the whole, craziness of the last year die down with travel and everything. So we're thinking the middle of next year we'll come back on the show and we'll just do it live.
All right. Sounds great.
I'll be the flower girl.
Okay.
I'll be the preacher.
Oh, that'll
With
be
with a captain's license, I can do this.
You can do that.
People will catch on
All right,
fire.
bub, we got to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots. We'll talk to you soon inshore. He says, Flounder, fish live baits or Berkeley Gulp along the seawalls, docks, and around the Sea Wolf Pack. And then offshore, fishing the deep water for rigs, for tunas, chunking cut baits, and troll R&R tackle tuna magnets at daybreak. Dave, what's wrong, Dave?
It's a Sea Wolf Park.
What did I say?
Sea Wolf Pack.
Oh,
But you thought it was a wolf pack.
A wolf pack.
I can see how you could do that.
Remember, I was always the best in school at word association because I just associated with something that had to do with something that didn't have to do with.
There you go.
Does that make sense?
No.
Not a bit.
Never does. And you know what, gentlemen? Flawless performance here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Thanks for tuning in with us.
next year.
And we will see you next season.
Be safe, guys.
Bye.
We'll be back in April.